The rhinoceros is a fascinating creature, full of oddities and extraordinary details. Let me tell you. 1. Its horn isn't a normal horn. Although it looks like a large, solid horn like a bull's, a rhino's horn is made of keratin, the same protein that makes up our nails and hair. It has no bone inside. It's basically a giant, super compact tuft of hair. 2. Ancient-looking armor. Their thick, wrinkled skin, which can be up to 5 centimeters thick, gives them a prehistoric appearance. Not only is it durable, but it also has folds that help protect them in fights, as if they were wearing natural armor. 3. Solitary, but with social networks, olfactory. Rhinos are mostly solitary, but they communicate through urine and dung marking. Their dung piles, called middens, function like bulletin boards. Other rhinos can read who's been there, their mood, and even whether they're looking for a mate. 4. Poor eyesight, but adept at smell and hearing. Their vision is quite poor. They may not be able to distinguish a person standing still 10 meters away, but they have hypersensitive senses of smell and hearing. They can smell the presence of other animals or humans at great distances. 5. The invisible architects of their ecosystem. They are essential to their environment. They make gaps in the bushes, disperse seeds, and create pathways used by other species. Without them, several African and Asian ecosystems would collapse or change radically. 6. A very, very ancient lineage. Modern rhinos are descendants of a lineage that emerged more than 50 million years ago. There were even giant rhinos like Paraceratherium, which was the size of a giraffe, but much heavier. 7. Swimming rhinoceroses. Although we don't associate them with water, rhinos are very good swimmers. Especially the Indian rhinoceros, which loves swamps and can spend hours submerged, like a hippopotamus. I'll also tell you some strange legends or myths about them. There are medieval stories that confuse them with unicorns. This is a very curious legend that comes from the Middle Ages. The rhinoceros and the myth of the medieval unicorn. For centuries, Europeans barely knew that animals like the rhinoceros existed. When travelers or traders returned from Africa or Asia telling stories of an enormous beast with thick skin and a horn on its forehead, European artists and writers, who had never seen one, mistaken it for the mythical unicorn. In one of these legends, it was said that there existed a wild creature called the unicorn of India, an enormous animal as strong as an army, with a single horn on its snout. According to the story, this unicorn was so ferocious that it could not be captured, unless a pure maiden sat in the forest. The unicorn, sensing purity, would docilely approach the young woman, and thus hunters could catch it. In fact, many believe that this creature they described was an Indian rhinoceros. Its large horn, its armor-like folds of skin, its imposing strength, everything fit those old, fanciful descriptions. A very famous example of this confusion was Albrecht Dürer's 1515 drawing, an engraving of a rhinoceros based on oral accounts. He never saw one in person. And he ended up drawing something that looks like an armored and scaly animal, a far cry from a real rhinoceros. Here's another example, Dürer's engraving. It's impressive and looks like something straight out of a book about magical creatures. This print is one of the most iconic and curious depictions of a rhinoceros in the history of art. What's most fascinating is that Dürer never saw the animal in person. He based his work on a written description and sketch by an unknown artist who had seen an Indian rhinoceros that had arrived in Lisbon. Despite anatomical inaccuracies, such as the armor-like skin or an extra horn on the back, the image became extremely popular and was considered an accurate representation of the animal for over 2 centuries. The fury of the Grey King. Centuries ago, in a land of vast savannas and ancient rivers, there existed a rhinoceros so large and so feared that the people called him the Grey King. No creature, man or beast, dared to cross his territory without facing his fury. The Grey King did not roar like lions or hunt like tigers. He was the mountain that moved, the thunder that galloped through the tall grass. His horn, sharp as a war spear, could cut through young trees as if they were thickets. The wise men said his hide was blessed by the gods. Arrows bounced off it like raindrops on stone. Once, a powerful hunter, driven by glory and ambition, decided to confront the Grey King. He gathered the best archers, tamers, and warriors. For days they followed the Colossus's footprints, deep marks in the mud that looked like craters. They finally found him, peacefully grazing near a lake, his enormous shadow projecting over the water like that of a giant. The hunter ordered the attack. Arrows, nets, and spears rained down. The Grey King, instead of fleeing, charged. The earth shook. With a single thrust, he split the ranks of warriors. Their nets tore against their skin. Their spears broke like dry twigs. Brave men fell like leaves in a gale. They say that the hunter, seeing himself defeated, fell to his knees and lowered his head, awaiting the final fury. But the Grey King, after looking at him with his small, wise eyes, simply snorted a cloud of dust and left. From then on, nearby villages left offerings of fruit and flowers along the roads, not to appease him, but to honor his strength and wild spirit. The Grey King became a legend, the guardian of the savannah, a symbol of the respect men should have for nature. I'm also going to tell you another more epic story about the rhinoceros. The last horn of the earth. Long ago, when the world was young and the gods still walked among men, there was a legendary being known as Baron Thor, the rhinoceros of 1,000 winters. He was larger than any creature of his time. His shadow covered mountains, and his horn shone in the sun like a sword forged by the gods. Baron Thor was not just a beast, he was the guardian of balance. It was said that as long as his heart beat, the earth would continue to bear fruit, the rivers would run free, and the heavens would bring fair rains. The gods had entrusted him with a sacred duty, to protect the world tree, the great pillar that held up heaven and earth. But like all light, there was also darkness. A being of shadows, the demon Morgoth, wished to uproot the world tree and plunge everything into eternal winter. Morgoth forged an army of monsters, wraiths, and nightmarish creatures and marched toward the heart of the world, where Baron Thor guarded the tree. The wise men knew they could not face Morgoth alone, so they came to Baron Thor, bearing wreaths of flowers and chanting songs. They begged him to fight one last time. And Baron Thor agreed. When the final day came, the sky split into black storms. From the plains to the mountains, the battle raged. The rhinoceros, unstoppable, swept through entire ranks of enemies. Its charge was a roar from the very heart of the earth. Its horn shone like a comet in the night, shattering the weapons and shields of the shadows. But Morgoth, cunning, hurled a spear forged in pure darkness. The spear pierced Baron Thor's flank. The guardian fell to his knees, and with his last breath, struck the ground with his horn. That blow was so powerful that it split the earth itself, creating rivers, mountains, and valleys. From his fall, new forests sprouted, and the world tree, strengthened by his sacrifice, grew even larger, unreachable by Morgoth's grasp. The demon was banished, and Baron Thor became part of the land itself, his spirit pulsing in every hill, in every river, in every wind that sings across the savannah. To this day, when thunder shakes the earth and the trees bow to the wind, the elders say it is Baron Thor galloping in the dreams of the eternal land. There is a song of Baron Thor, the mythical giant.
La aurora del mundo, cuando el cielo tembló, bajo ramas eternas, Baran Thor despertó, con su cuerno de estrellas y su paso de trueno, guardaba la vida, custodiaba el sueño. Baran Thor, cuerno de eternidad, de las sombras defiende la verdad. Con tu carga de fuego, con tu grito ancestral, la tierra recuerda tu paso inmortal. Morgoth trajo el hielo, la sombra, el dolor, y 1000 bestias de noche sembraron terror. Mas el guardián de la tierra rugió en su honor, y el mundo tembló ante Barantor. Oh, Barantor, cuerno de eternidad, ve las sombras defiéndome la verdad. Con tu carga de fuego, con tu grito ancestral, la tierra recuerda tu paso inmortal. Un golpe en la tierra, montañas nació, los ríos cantaron donde el cuerno cayó. Y el árbol del mundo, llorando y en flor, alzaba sus ramas por Barantor. Oh, Barantor, espíritu y raíz, la savia y el viento susurran tu matiz. Mientras truene la vid, mientras brille el sol, tu leyenda galopa en nuestro corazón.